Here's a question that you probably haven't thought of if you just started learning a language. Am I going to be able to continuously study this language over the time frame of years? So many people rush into learning a language and start obsessing over the optimal way to learn. But I want to ask you something much different. Are you ready to commit to the language that you decided to learn? Hi, I'm Jackson, and I am the traveling linguist. And I want to talk about my 3 years of experience learning Portuguese. E sim, eu consigo falar em português. I was lucky enough to find a language that I absolutely adore in Portuguese. And I think this is something that not a lot of people consider when they go to learn a language. Not so much the methods that you will use to learn the language, but the decision on which language you are going to dedicate your time learning. If you had just started learning your language and you decide that you don't feel all that passionate about it, then it's a lot easier to quit now than it would be if you'd been studying it for 2 years already. And don't get it twisted, I'm not encouraging you to quit. Rather, I'm looking you to reflect on the language that you decided to learn and ask yourself, is it one in which I have a sufficient reason to learn? It will be very difficult to learn a language that you do not like and you do not have to learn out of necessity. If you really enjoy the language, or are learning it for somebody that you truly love, or are learning it for a trip, or are learning it because you have to, say you move into another country that speaks that language, and you have to learn that language, then there is a very high likelihood that you will actually learn it. I'm telling you right now, if you are learning a language to be cool or to be smart, or because you think it'll be useful in the future, or because you want to say that you're bilingual, these all are reasons that will not work. They're all superficial reasons. Before you start learning your language, check out all of the languages that you're able to learn and pick one that suits your fancy. If you land on the one that you originally wanted to learn, then that's great. And if you don't, if you want to learn another one because you like it more, that's even better. You will find the process much more fun, and the time you spend learning the language won't be for naught. Also, just a side note I want to throw in, don't use Duolingo to study. 1 to 2 lessons a day at most is wonderful. It's plenty. There are better, more fun ways to study. I made a video why, so if you're interested, check it out. If you want to study using an app, YouTube, Tandem, Discord, these all have been very helpful for me learning Swahili. Next, I want to talk about the time frame because I completely underestimated it when I first started learning Portuguese. And what's funny about it is that Portuguese is actually quite similar to English relative to other languages. So trying to learn Portuguese from English isn't that hard compared to learning Japanese or Chinese or Arabic from English, because English and Portuguese are fairly similar in terms of sentence structure and cognates. Arabic and Chinese and Japanese are completely different, both grammatically and lexically. To those of you who are learning Japanese, Chinese, or Arabic, stay strong out there. It's a tough world. Expect the language that you're learning to take at least 2 years to become comfortable with it. And I'm using comfortable very loosely because I've been learning for over 2.5 years, and there are still things that I feel uncomfortable saying, like talking about the body. I don't know hamstring in Portuguese. I don't know quadriceps in Portuguese. Like, I know like the basics of the face and basic body parts, but nothing specific. So if you talk about working out and I'm at a gym, I don't know what to call the muscles that you work out. So I'm using the word comfortable very loosely here. But this 2-year rule doesn't really apply if you're learning Urdu from Hindi or Portuguese from Spanish or vice versa, because those are very closely related. And don't feel ashamed if you can't progress in your language quickly. It takes time. When I first started learning Portuguese, it took me around 7 months to actually feel like I was getting anywhere. I was making progress before, but I still felt like I was wandering in a jungle. 7 months in, and I finally figured out how to take the machete out of my little machete holder on my belt and start swinging it around. And then I just needed to learn how to swing it around without hitting myself in the face. Granted, 7 months is a long time, so if it isn't your first rodeo, then you know you can efficiently study and get to where I was in Portuguese in 7 months in much less time if you actually know what you're doing. But if you're a beginner and this is your first time, then you don't know what you're doing. You're inexperienced. And that's how practicing new skills work. You don't pick up something and instantly become good at it. I mean, that's why I'm making this video. I want to help you out a little bit so that you're not as inexperienced going into it just because I have the experience. This whole process is called teaching. And when you learn a language, please do not compare yourself to polyglot YouTubers. You cannot learn a language just by uttering the words present continuous and then instantly speak it. That's not how it works. Me personally, just my opinion, I think that it is hard to rewire your brain and memorize thousands upon thousands of words in different contexts. But that's just me. Also, something I remember when I was learning Portuguese that I found to be quite difficult is listening. Holy hell. When I first started learning Portuguese, I didn't understand anything. It was crazy. I was so bad at listening, and I'm not great at listening now, but I couldn't understand anything when I first started. I remember feeling like I would never understand it because I had worked so hard at it and I still found no progress. You will. You'll get it eventually. It'll feel like you aren't, but you will. You are. Don't worry about it. It just takes a long time. You just gotta practice and you'll get better at it. I don't remember exactly what I did to improve my listening, but something that I can tell you helps a lot is talking with another person. If you talk with another person and then they talk back to you, you gotta process that information so that you can respond, so it forces you to listen and listen well. That's what I would do to improve your listening. That and a lot of passive input. A lot of podcasts while working out, while cleaning, while cooking, etc. Flashcards are really good as a beginner, but most people use them to memorize ridiculous words. Don't do that. Don't memorize words like jar or yoga or discombobulate. Like, you're never gonna use those words. Memorize words like and, with, you, I, to like, to buy, to play, things like that. Something that helps especially, at least it did for me, was putting them together. So saying like, I like you. You know, that's a good way to put them together. And there are particular combinations of words that you hear and say very frequently. For example, let me show you what I wrote down. With me, do this, I am learning, things like that. Something that helped me a lot with that is just talking to myself. Alright, I'm kind of pissed off because this city is so loud and I have one pane of window and bricks surrounding that window. So I'm gonna go. I hope you guys have a great day. See you in another video. Good luck learning your language. Ciao.